Okay, so welcome to topic 8.1, the first topic in the ecology unit, responses to the environment. What I mean by responses to the environment is, of course, animal, plant, single-celled organism, all life's response to the environment based on external cues, otherwise known as stimuli. A word you'll probably see much more of. Stimuli is the plural of stimulus. So how do animals and, again, how does life respond to different stimuli? That's what we're going to be talking about today. So we'll go ahead and begin here. I'll be underlining some words on the left. These are probably some words that you want to be familiar with and learn. We'll talk about them briefly as we go through it. Photoperiodism is the tendency of plants to need a certain amount of daytime or nighttime in order to flower or continue their life cycle. There are short day plants, such as this rose here, that if the daytime is too short, or is not short enough rather, it will not flower. Here we have a flowery rose showing that the day is short enough. Conversely, long day plants need a very long day in order to flower. These are going to live in different areas of the earth because obviously night and day length vary in different places on earth. Let's move on to the next word we're going to talk about, which is phototropism. The key to this is the suffix tropism. Tropism. This is probably something you remember from normal bio. Tropism. This is an example. This first example, as you might know, is, if you can imagine the sun up here shining some rays down, causing these plants to grow towards that sunlight. That is a phototropism. Phototropism, as is written on the left over there. Another type of tropism that's not talked about but I think is interesting is gravitropism, which I think is a little bit more important, honestly, than in many cases anyways, than phototropism. Gravitropism. I have an astronaut carrying a plant here because there's been some research done by growing plants in space to see the effect of gravitropism. You may ask, what is gravitropism? You have a plant, as you've seen before many times, I'm sure. I'm going to draw a little plant here with a flower. Go. A little flower here. Okay, so somehow we got a flower. Plants tend to grow upwards, and their roots tend to grow downwards, right? So this is due to Earth's gravity, that roots will seek out water sources below or towards gravity. That is a positive gravitropism. Opposing gravity is the job of the stem and leaves and everything like that. This is a negative gravitropism because it is opposing gravity. Same for phototropism. If for some reason you had a plant that avoided light, it would be a negative tropism. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. You guys remember tropism pretty well, I'm guessing. So, taxis and kinesis in animals. One of the... I'm going to write down a couple of suffixes here real quick. Taxis, kinesis. You've probably heard the word kinesis in biology before. Cytokinesis, things like that. Taxis refers to direction. Kinesis refers to rate. So, we are going to be studying, probably, depending on what experimental variable you choose, chemotaxis in our first lab of the year. Chemotaxis is the tendency of a chemical stimulus to attract an animal. In our case, we're going to be using some fruit flies, right? Pardon my fly here, it's not the best looking. Fruit flies being attracted to some sort of, chemical. Right? This is a chemotaxis, right? There's other types of taxis, which you can look up there. There's plenty of them. That's the only one I'm going to talk about. Kinesis would refer to the rate that something is attracted. Is it fast? Is it slow? Is the speed, which is most likely the case, dependent upon something? Is it dependent upon the the amount of chemical? This is kinesis. This is kinesis. So those are two words I would know, especially in relation to the lab, because it'll help you write a very good lab report. I'm going to show you a video very quickly. These are amoeba. They're being attracted to a cyclic ant, which is a chemical signaling molecule. And you can see they definitely are attracted. They're moving. They don't have little brains that are telling them where to move based on sight. This is simply a chemical response. Right? This is a chemical response, and all these amoeba are moving towards this one location. So pretty cool. It happens in your body too with white blood cells. Something to keep in mind. Okay. Okay. Responses to the environment. Let's continue. So, first image here I have is a fight or flight response. This is something I'm not going to touch too deeply on because you guys know what this is instinctively, right? Do you run or do you fight? Right? Obviously, this probably applies somewhat to humans as well, right? Fight or flight response. You have a response. In this case, this antelope has a response to this cheetah of running away from the cheetah. That is a flight response. Let me talk real quickly about, and let me go back here and underline a couple of other things, nocturnal and diurnal animals. Nocturnal animals, such as this owl, are animals which are active at night. I'll draw a little moon right there. Animals that are active during the daytime are known as diurnal animals. Obviously, that's a word you maybe haven't seen as much because it is kind of it's kind of our default mode as humans, right? We are active during the day, inactive at night. But that's what nocturnal and diurnal mean. Predator warnings. Predator warnings. These are meerkats. You can see them standing up. They are a very social animal, and they have kind of one of these unique features of actually many small mammals have this feature of warning the rest of their pack. They can warn the rest of their pack if there's a predator. If there's a predator around, if it sees something out there, right? They can warn the pack to run or hide or what have you. Of course, this is also related to a flight or fight response. Also down here, it's related to a pack behavior. So this is kind of an example of a few different concepts. There was a really cool show on BBC. That's where this is from. I think it was called Meerkat Manor. I think it was on BBC. But it's a really fun show to kind of get you interested in the social behavior of some animals that aren't human. Okay. Plant responses to herbivory. Herbivory. What does that word mean? This is probably kind of intuitive. You can see the word herb in there, right? You've heard of herbivores. Herbivory is simply the act of eating plants, right? Eating plants. So plants do respond to this. They do have an immune system, something you might not know. And how do they respond to this? Well, they have chemical responses. They have physical responses. This is a raspberry plant right here. You can see it has spines in order to kind of discourage anything from coming to feast on it. In the second image here, we have a caterpillar who's kind of eating this plant. This plant is releasing a chemical toxin to either disable or otherwise harm this caterpillar. And he's actually trying to, it's kind of hard to see, but he's trying to build a little moat to protect himself from the release of this chemical toxin so that he can continue eating, which is kind of interesting behavior. But yes, plants do have immune systems. They can respond to their external environment and things trying to eat them. Territorial markings. Obviously, you've seen this before. Whenever you've seen a dog, pee, it's trying to mark its territory. Very common behavior, right? Territorial marking. Coloration of flowers. Obviously, flowers are different colors for different reasons. Oftentimes, when you see something that is a bright color in nature, it's to ward off predators or, in some cases, to attract pollinators, something like that. Bird songs. This is most of the time a mating ritual. There might be other ancillary effects of bird songs to ward off predators, something like that. But in general, this is kind of a mating behavior, which we'll talk about more in depth when we get to evolution, so I don't want to dwell too much on it here. Pack behavior we talked about, wolves, dogs, things like that, meerkats. Predator warnings we already talked about, and coloration we've already talked about. So we've kind of hit everything we're going to hit in this video. This is the first video over topic 8.1, which is responses to the environment, of living things, right? Living things to respond to the environment. So I will see you to finish up this topic in the next video. Thank you.